Good morning, everyone. Kevin here from Skywatcher, and welcome to another episode of the What's Up Webcast. We do this every Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific, right here at the Skywatcher USA YouTube channel. Cover everything from what's up in the nighttime sky to equipment to helpful tips and tricks. And of course, at the end of the month, we have a special guest to talk about their specialty in the field of astronomy. So today we are talking about Nina. Nina is a very popular software that's used nowadays to control a variety of imaging systems. Now, we've started working with Nina here, particularly at our remote the site, and a lot of the work we're going to be doing today is built. We're going to be remoting into our remote observatory, but if that goes a little weird, I do have a secondary setup back here. Now, I would like to start all of this off saying that there's probably half a dozen ways to use SynScan based mount all the Skywatcher equatorial go-to mounts with Nina. There's through the hand controller USB, there's the USB on the mount, there's EQ mod, which is going to be our primary focus today because I find it to be the cleanest, and then there's another collection of them like Green Swamp Server, which I've attempted to mess with, but yeah, so that's all we can really work with. But there's a lot of different configurations to use Nina. If you're not familiar with Nina, that's kind of what today is going to be kind of overview is. It's not going to be a really in-depth dive into it. We probably will get a little deep into it, but it's a very complex system. And there might be a little bit of a rant today because it's been fun learning this system. But Nina, I would like you to actually think of as kind of a funnel, if you will. Nina allows you to channel a variety of different programs under one control software, which is actually a real reason I like using a program like SkyX from Software Bisque. SkyX is very nice at pulling everything into one control system. It really is a wonder to me how many people have been able to do astrophotography over the last couple decades, because there's just so much stuff that has to run in the background. There's the camera, there's the focuser, there's the telescope. With the addition of plate solving, you have that running around. There's a lot of parts when it comes to software that have to work right. Nina makes that a lot easier to bring under one umbrella. I still think it's a bit outdated, if you will, compared to some of the more advanced things that are coming out, like the ASI Air, Celestron's new Origin telescope, which I'm sure you guys have seen. You have a lot of these new turnkey systems that are coming out that are making astrophotography so much easier for us experienced imagers, but also newcomers as well. And it's not this big convoluted thing. So Nina does a nice job at bringing all that together. I'm still just not a huge fan of how convoluted some of this stuff gets into. And then the definition of Nina, of course, is in the chat there. Nighttime imaging in astronomy. The amazing thing about it is it's free. It's pretty remarkable how much stuff you can do with Nina, but we'll get into that in just a second. If you like what you see here, please go ahead and subscribe, leave a like on the video. Today's going to be, it's not a PowerPoint presentation, it's kind of a workflow through everything. If you like what you see here and you want to support the channel, head over to skywatcher.threadless.com. We've got a bunch of cool stuff over there, swag that can match your stuff. Just Skywatcher shirts in general, so on and so forth. Really quick, just kind of an announcement, a couple little things. If you have ideas for products, or there's a combination of a product that you want us to possibly produce, don't leave that in the comment section or the chats here on YouTube, because we don't get to see it. We do go back and we check the comments occasionally. We try to be up to date with a lot of that. But if you need support on a product, or you have a product question or something that needs a timely response, just give us a call or email us at info@skywatchusa or support@skywatchusa.com. Any one of those major channels is better than just leaving it on the YouTube comment section or the chat or social media. Those are not the appropriate channels to inquire. It's best to just go through the main channels, and then it will be dispersed to the correct branch of the company, and we'll get back to you on an answer. But that's come up a couple times in the last couple weeks here. So we're trying to make sure you get effective answers in a timely manner. And if you just leave it here on YouTube, especially on older episodes, a lot of times you're probably not going to get as timely of a response as just reaching out to us directly. So hopefully that's helpful. All right. As well, really quick thing. If you like what you see here, you can always go and you want to listen to the Skywatcher What's Up webcast. We do have it in podcast form. We're going to work on getting a lot of the latest episodes up into the podcasts. But you can get that wherever you get your podcasts as well. So hopefully that's helpful. So let's jump into Nina really quick. Nina is a freeware. You can just go over to their website. I've got it right up here. Boop. Right here. It's just nighttime-imaging.eu. It's nighttime imaging and astronomy. All of it's there. It's a freeware. Go ahead and download it. You can mess with it. This is a very large program to work within. It does a lot of stuff, or it allows a lot of stuff to work within it. What I want you to think of when you're working with Nina is it's kind of just a shell, and then it's up to you to kind of fill in everything within the shell, and then it kind of becomes a customized software to your imaging needs. And it does allow for sequences. You can program it. It does a lot of very impressive things, but it does require quite a bit of setup on your part and a little bit of knowledge of how a computer needs to work. So as nice as Nina is, and I'm a fan of it, I do think it's rather cumbersome, especially because in my opinion, moving forward, we need more turnkey, just effective little things that make it work. So let's get started. What was wrong? Let's see. That is the go-to program for control. Nina is the new go-to program for control, but yeah. So let me switch over. I've got Nina popped up here. I'm sorry, you guys. There we go. So this is Nina, and going back here, if you want to go skywatcher.threadless.com, there's that. You guys know what that looks like. But Nina, here's the Nina website. You can also just Google Nina. It's a few levels down, but nighttime-imaging.eu is the Nina website if you want to go over there and check it out. So there you go. Now, because I'm going to be working a lot within the screen here, I'm going to go to full screen. You're not going to see me. I'll just be a disembodied voice in the back, but that way you can see everything with the higher resolution capabilities. So let's get started. We're going to pop over to our remote observatory. The remote observatory is called Falling Eagle Observatory. It's currently hosted at Skies Away Remote Observatory, and they're a great site. I do think they're full over there, so if you're looking for a remote location, you'll have to reach out and see what they have available, but our telescope is there. Currently we use Eagle, Prima Luce Eagle computers to run all three of the systems that are currently inside of there. We have two friends that are in the same observatory as us. If you want to see what's going on in there, let me get Nina down here. There's our webcam right there. There's the Esprit 150. We have our EQ8RH. The Eagle's running there. This is a Astrophysics 130 GT Starfire that belongs to Brian. That's a shared system that him and I use for wide field. It's his scope. And then my buddy in the back, that's his Stellar View 180. Just quite an awesome telescope. But anyway, that's our observatory there. Got the refractors. They're all parked. Normally it's closed during the day, but for this little exercise, we've got the roof open. Nice and clear finally out there, and we can monitor the telescope, which is on the north pier, this pier right here. That is the telescope we will be working on today, the Esprit 150. I don't know if I'll bounce back and forth between the camera much or not, but all right. So let's pop Nina up here. When you open Nina, this is the main screen that you see. Now, Nina is a very well organized software. You can see right here we've got camera, the camera tab, filter wheel tab, focuser, rotator, telescope, guider, switch, flat panel, weather, dome control. There's a collection of different things that the imager of any level can utilize inside of Nina. And then over here on the main ones, you have Sky Atlas, framing, Flat Wizard. You can run sequences, imaging. There's just, it does everything. And it's quite impressive when you see a fully functional Nina setup. But before you can actually start using Nina, we need to set up Nina. And this is where things get a little heavy. So if you're looking for a system that basically allows you to not be locked into an ecosystem like the ASI Air, it's going to give you automation and it channels everything under one umbrella. Nina is your answer. And a lot of the most advanced imagers are using it, especially for remote applications. It does work on Windows. I believe it works on all other platforms as well. We do have the website up here, so we can check it out. But we use it on the Prima Luce Eagles, which is a PC. Let's see, download. Oh, if you want Nina, you go over there, you go to download, and you're going to look for the latest one, which is version, well, they have a version 3 beta, but right now I believe we're using 2. What are we using? Oops. Let's see, 2.3. So I think we're pretty much at the latest version of Nina at the moment. But anyway, if you want to download Nina, head over there. Download Nina. You're looking for the setup 64-bit version. I don't know if it works on multiple. Maybe it's just a PC one. I'm not sure. We're working with PC. If you were working on Mac and other things, sorry. So. Okay, back to the remote. Let's flip Nina back up here. Okay, so in today's work through, we are going to be controlling our mounts with EQ Mod. EQ Mod, I find, is the simplest, cleanest way to control a Skywatcher-based mount out of anything else. You can use the hand controllers, you can use the USB Direct, you can use Green Swamp Server. There's half a dozen or so control capabilities, but I find EQ Mod to be the cleanest. Now, the way that I have EQ Mod set up is with an EQ Mod Direct cable. You can get these off Amazon. They're like $20. A lot of other companies sell them as well. I prefer to do EQ Mod because it takes the guesswork out of everything and it streamlines it. Are you able to control all 3 scopes with the Eagle, or do you need one for each scope? Each scope in the Observatory has its own Eagle on it. Actually, the Stellar View 180 has a Nook, and I think it's using some Pegasus box to control the ons and offs of everything. The owner of that switched over. The other 2 are using Eagles. I'm a fan of the Eagle because it takes everything under one setup. Here's the Eagle control panel. This is an Eagle 3, I think. Now they have the Eagle 5s. But you can control everything right here. Here's the mount, camera, cooling, focuser, filter wheel. This is all the power. Our USBs are all up here. I really like the Eagles for remote capability because they are powerful PC machines, and anything you can do on a laptop, you can do on an Eagle. And even the new Eagles, the Eagle 5s, they have some extremely powerful processing machines there that you could actually process remotely. But the Eagle is our weapon of choice at the moment. And this runs everything. All the power for our system is run through there, which is really nice. If there's something that's messing around, you can shut that off and get to it. All right. So the first thing that we need to do when we're actually going to be setting up our telescope, our Skywatcher mount, is You're going to need an EQ mod cable. That EQ mod cable is going to plug into the hand controller port on your mount, the serial side. The USB is going to plug into your telescope or into the computer that you're using. For us, it's an Eagle. For you, it could be a laptop, whatever. But the USB plugs into there. Then once we're in there, you need to go ahead and download EQ mod. There's a couple things you have to download. You need to download EQ mod, and you also are going to need to download ASCOM. ASCOM is a universal language program that is used in astronomy because for whatever reason, companies can't just make a universal driver. We all have to be different. So ASCOM is that middle ground software that allows companies to make a driver that talks to ASCOM, and then it allows to talk to everything else. It's just how we do it. Now, I know there's Alpaca and there's regular ASCOM. I'm not going to get into all that. I think Alpaca just allows you to use other programs like Linux or OS systems like Linux. We're just using regular ASCOM. So you're going to need to download ASCOM. ASCOM is just something that runs in the background. And then you are going to have to download the corresponding drivers for whatever it is. You're going to notice that we have a ton of stuff that has to get stacked on top of each other, essentially, to get this to work. Another reason I am kind of a fan of things like ASI Air and the StellarMate Pro box. The execution of these things, and even Origin, imaging is getting easier because we're making things more turnkey. And after today, you'll probably see why. So, the first thing you're going to need to do is download ASCOM. Now, let me bring up, going to be bouncing screens today. ASCOM. You just go to ascom-standards.org. You can head over to downloads, and right over here on the right side, this is the ASCOM download. Just go ahead and download that. That'll bring it in, and just follow the steps for the download process. Now, for your drivers, for your cameras, your filter wheels, all your accessories, cameras, filter wheels, focusers, whatever, you need to download the corresponding driver for that as well. Now, our system today in the remote observatory, we have a ZWO 6200 monochrome. We have an FLI centerline filter wheel, and we have an Optec focus direct link focuser. All of the corresponding drivers have to be downloaded from each company's driver list. And this is going to be very different from system to system. Each system is going to be unique. So you need to go to the company that manufactures your hardware and download the corresponding ASCOM drivers onto your computer, and then it'll be able to talk. Now, ASCOM, you can go over to driver and downloads, and you can pick stuff. ASCOM does have a collection of drivers that will link you to wherever they are. They do kind of a good job on that. Sometimes you might have to dig a little deeper. Now, for Skywatcher, let me bring this over really quick. Skywatcher, we have 2 ASCOM drivers available, and it depends on what exactly you're looking to do. These drivers are located at skywatcher.com. You go to support, software and firmware, ASCOM drivers, and there are 2. There's the SynScan app, and there's the SynScan hand controller version. Now, I have both downloaded. The SynScan hand controller driver is probably the one that the majority of you use. If you're going to be using the SynScan app, you need the SynScan ASCOM driver. For EQ mod, I wouldn't worry too much about the app version. And if you're trying to use this remotely, I would stay clear of the app version. I find the EQ mod is the best way to go. So, but you can run all this with our SynScan Pro app for Windows if you like. EQ mod is much cleaner. Now that your ASCOMs are downloaded, obtain the drivers from the companies that you need, there's going to be a lot of links today. Today is very convoluted, and this is a deep dive. Next thing you need to download for Skywatcher is EQMod. EQMod is a very popular control system that basically allows you to control a Skywatcher mount without the need of a hand controller. Now, there's other ones like Green Swamp Server. Some people like that more. I haven't had good luck with Green Swamp Server, but it's just a big puzzle, and it drives me nuts. So you can download EQMod. EQ ASCOM is usually the one that you might want here. There's also ASCOM Pad. You can download a few of these. It'll use it. They're over here under downloads. You can download this as well. Again, we haven't even started plugging all this stuff in. So those are the main foundations to get our telescope working. Does EQMod work with the GTI? It does. And EQMod controls any of the Skywatcher go-to mounts, all the way from particularly the equatorial ones, going from Star Adventure GTI all the way up to the EQ8RH. They all work the same. So now that we have all this done, we can pop over here and we can go to our telescope. Now, I have all this already built into Nina. It's all been configured. The configuring takes a while to kind of build it up. So usually when you're inside Nina, the way you want to get this to work is, let me close this really quick. There's the power button to connect, which only works once it's all configured. There's the refresh button, which helps you scan for your devices. And then there's the settings button. Now, when all this is plugged in, you'll have a drop-down menu. And inside of ASCOM, ASCOM works in the background. It'll give you a list of everything that's available. Now, for our particular computer, this is everything that we have available to us. A lot of times, people like to use the EQMod ASCOM HEQ5/6. This one works pretty good. If you are actually using the SynScan app, which again, I would not recommend using, I find EQMod is cleaner. You can use the SynScan app driver. We also have the SkyX on this machine, so you'll see the ASCOM driver for the SkyX. And then there's Device Hub for Telescope. This thing is probably the best one of them all. That's why it's selected. So for this particular system, we use Device Hub because it manages things a lot better. This is another system that it's downloadable inside of ASCOM. So here is Device Hub, and you have to actually go in and configure this. So we're going to hit choose, and ASCOM is going to pop up, and you're going to get a drop-down menu of all the same things that we're using here. And in this case, we're using the EQMod HEQ5/6. That's been configured. There's also Device Hub here. Actually, that's what it should be. You can go, we're not able to change that at the moment, but it's all set up at this point. So you're going to select what you want. And this, again, is different from every telescope system. You go ahead and hit OK. At this point, I've got it configured, so it's not going to let me. But you'll see it says EQMod.telescope. And once that's configured, you hit OK. And once this has all been built, you don't have to go back and mess with it. And you can actually create a profile. If you see up top here, it says use this profile. This is all built inside of a profile. You can save it all. So we have ASCOM done. And then we can go in and hit connect to this because we have all that set up. Go ahead and turn it on. It's going to give you a little wheel up here. And down here, it says EQMod pops up right here. EQMod also works in the background. Here's our EQMod system. It's currently parked. Well, it's not officially parked at the moment because we were messing with it. But you can configure EQMod to whatever you want. Now, inside EQMod, you're going to put your location information and stuff like that. and you can configure everything that you want. Let me see. Nope. Now, one thing you do want to be careful of when you're setting up EQ mod, I'm trying to find it. It's hidden in here. EQ mod only has a limit of 16 ports. Now, you might be asking, what are these ports? Ports are the USBs and the connections inside of it. Most of us will never have to worry about this. But if you need to, and you need to figure out which device is where, this is where things get a little weird. You want to go to type in device manager in your system, pop that up. Sorry, it's blocked by EQ mod. Here's everything on the Eagle. You want to figure out what the ports are. Find ports in device manager, hit the drop down menu, and there's everything right there. Now, it's not a clean understanding of what is what, so you're going to have to figure out what's available and configure them. So sometimes you might not need to do this, other times you might. So again, you kind of have to have a little know-how of how this all comes together. But basically what you're trying to figure out is what COM port your EQ mod cable is coming in. For ours, it's COM2. That's been selected. We're all set. We hit connect. And now that everything's built, once all this is together, it just runs in the background. And now you can see right here, there's a little power button. And the telescope is now connected with Nina. Now, this is going to happen with every single device that you have plugged in. So now we have our telescope mount. It's good to go. Next thing, we have our camera. Our camera, you have to make sure all the drivers are also installed on the system. Now, we have a ZWO camera. Our main imaging camera right here is the ZWO ASI 6200 mm Pro. Now, you can actually, if you need to, you can go over to ZWO's website. Let me just bring this up really quick. So you can go over to ZWO's website. And we know you have a new website. Good for you. Go under support, software. And you are going to have to go through and download what you need. So we have the camera driver is what we need here. They also have an ASCOM driver if you need to, but the direct cameras are usually pretty good. We have both installed, so we can use it as ASCOM or the camera driver. So the ASCOM driver, however, you are going to need if you're using any of ZWO's accessories. This includes the EAF, the filter wheels, all of the accessories that you're going to need. You need to have the ASCOM driver. The camera does have its own driver, which is nice, but all of its accessories are different. So you'll need their driver downloaded. So it's just like the other systems we did with the telescope. The telescope's probably the most convoluted one because it's really going to depend on your mount. But we're just doing Skywatcher. So now we have our camera. We've downloaded the drivers. If you don't see it, you just hit refresh and it should pop it back up. Ours is already done. We're going to go ahead and hit select, and then we're going to hit power on, and it's going to go ahead and hit connect. And there's our camera. What I do like about Nina on a lot of this stuff is it does keep track of your cooling and all that. We can turn the dew heater on up here. We can do our cooling. Let's turn the cooling on. Cooling is now on. You'll start to see the charts down at the bottom right will start to move because the cooler on the fan is now operating. You'll start to see them pull up a bit here, and the temperatures drop. Nina is very cool that it allows you to do all this stuff inside of it. It's kind of a cumbersome thing to lock everything together. So now we have the telescope is on, camera is on. Filter wheels are fairly simplistic systems. There's not a lot going on with them. So for this, it's very similar to your camera. You just have to go to the company that you bought the filter wheel from and download their corresponding ASCOM drivers. ZWO we just saw has their ASCOM driver. In our case, we're using a FLI centerline filter wheel because we're using 50 millimeter square filters. And at the time, ZWO didn't have one. But now we've got this monstrosity of a filter wheel. Download that. If you don't see it, you can hit refresh. And it should pop it up once the drivers are installed, because you will not see it until ASCOM is downloaded, and you will not see it until the driver is downloaded. It's just going to sit there and kind of wonder what's going on. So you can see, because we have the ASCOM driver installed, we have ZWO filter wheels are in there as well. So you can see there's our centerline filter wheel. It'll do the same thing, whether it's, SBIG, Starlight Express, QHY, whoever. Once you have those ASCOM drivers available in the drop-down menu, you should find it available. Now we have ours done. Now we're going to go ahead and hit connect. Now, when you hit connect, you're going to see all of our filters. Now, like I said, this is a really unique filter wheel. The centerline filter wheels from FLI, which I don't know that they make anymore, has 2 5-position carousels inside of it. And it allows for 10 filters to be installed, but you have to make sure that the filters don't overlap. This filter wheel can be used for all kinds of scientific use where you can actually overlap filters. So we have to be very choosy on how we set this up. Now you can go in and change all these. I have to be very careful about how I do this because we spent a lot of time getting this set up. But you can see we've assigned all of our filters, all the positions. Now, if you had just a basic 5 or 7 or 10 position wheel, you won't have all these crazy things going on. But all that can be set up. And again, as you're setting this up, you can save this to the profile. So I just have it use this profile. And that way, at the end of the day, when you're ready to go, all you have to do is hit the big connect button down there, and it turns it all on in one go. So we've gone ahead and set up the filter wheel. If you're using a one-shot color camera, probably not using a filter wheel, although I do have a couple friends, I've set up their systems, and I do have filter wheels on one-shot color telescopes now. And it's actually a nice thing to have, but you'll have to go through and configure position 1 is this. Position 1 is L Pros. Position 2 is the Antlia dual band. Position 3 is Antlia tri-band. Position 4 is something else. Position 5 is a blackout filter. Whatever you want it to be, you can configure that, and then you're ready to go. So now we have our telescope is on, filter wheel is on, camera is on as well. Now, the focuser, focusers are pretty simplistic as well. You can see right here, we have a variety of different things available. It's going to pull all the drivers that are there. So you can see there's an FLI ASCOM focuser driver, there's ZWO, there's Optech, the Focus Links focusers that we've got. There's a variety of them. So again, you have to go find the ASCOM driver from your manufacturer, download that, and then you can hit refresh right here, and it will find it, and it will be added to the ASCOM list of equipment. We have it set for Focus Links Focuser 1. We just go ahead and hit connect. It should fire up. Boom, there it is. And it's ready to go. Now, inside of here, you can tell it to do a bunch of different things. We can do temperature compensation. You just hit on or off. You can set up all of what you're doing inside each corresponding thing. Now, you can also do the same thing with a rotator. I don't have a rotator on this system at the moment, so we're not going to do that one. The next one is the guider. Now, the guider portion of this, you can do however you're doing your guiding. Obviously, the large majority of us are using PhD2. We do PhD2 as well. Now, inside here, you don't have to mess too much with any of this, but we're going to go ahead and hit connect. When we hit connect, it gives you all these little warnings down here, but it's going to go ahead and pop up and let all this start working. Now, in here, it's going to pop up PhD2. PhD2, you then have to go in and set up. So you usually hit the little brain. You can configure it any way that you want. You go to the USB here. Now, every system is going to be different on what guider you're using. Again, it's all going to come down to the drivers. Now, on our particular remote setup, we're using a Starlight Express Ultra Star for our guiders. You're going to go ahead and pick whatever your guide camera is going to be. Now, obviously, there's a ton of different options out there, as you can see. ZWO's at the bottom. You've got SV Boney. You've got S-Big. You've got Starlight Express. Everything you can think of is basically in here. Obviously, we are using Starlight Express. And then you go ahead and hit connect. And it's giving me fits right now. I'm not sure why it's giving me fits at the moment. I might have to go in and adjust what's going on here. Let me make sure. So our guider's giving us fits. I can turn this on and then back on. So, it's hard doing this remote. There's a little bit of a delay. So this is another thing that's really nice about the Eagle is if your system's giving you some fits, and particularly like the guider right now is acting a little bit weird, I can turn the USB on and off. Do you try turning it on and off again? And hopefully, if it's done right, there we go. So now it's connected. See, we just needed to unplug it and redo it. This has been shut off for a couple weeks because we've had some maintenance going on and the weather's been really crazy. So we've had this kind of turned off. So it's been a cold start. But now you can see that our camera, the guide camera right here, is now connected. Now, we are using an ST4 guide port to connect. Now, I know some of you are like, why would you ever do that? Well, serial connections are just solid. So we have ours connected in the ST4, which if you're doing that and you're doing an ST4 and you're plugging into the guide port, you would just do on camera. I really like doing on camera because it's just solid when you're using PhD2. Obviously, you can set it up any way you want. A lot of people are using USB. You can configure it any way that you like. We're set up as on camera. Then you hit connect. Now, you can go in and do a bunch of other stuff. Now, there's also more equipment inside of here. This is where you're getting a little bit more advanced. Now, let's say you're using a larger system. Maybe you're using like a Edge HD, or you're doing plane waves or an RC or something crazy, and you want to do an active optics setup. And we might have to do a video on active optics, or some people call it adaptive optics in the hobby. It's not adaptive optics, it's active optics, because adaptive means we're moving the main mirror and distorting it to help with seeing conditions, where active optics are helping with guiding. If you want to do that, you can go in and put your adaptive optics system or active optics inside of here. Now, there's not many companies that make these right now. There's Starlight Express and S-Big are the two ones that make them right now. And you can see right there that they're available. Now, we don't have these installed on our system, but if you do have an AO unit that you're using for imaging, you would set it up inside PhD2, and then it routes up inside to Nina at that point. But in this case, we don't have that. And we don't have a rotator. You can configure a rotator. Obviously, we don't have any rotators installed, so there's no drivers for rotators that are available at the current time. But your rotator could be configured inside of PhD2. Obviously, you could also do that inside of Nina, but that's how you would configure all that. Now we're good to go. You can see it's connected here. It's green for the camera. We've got the connection for the mount done. You can go ahead and hit close. Obviously, it's bright white because the camera is taking pictures and it's really bright outside. And that goes down in here. And now you can see that the guider system right here is active. Now, there's other things that we can configure in here. We did have a Optech flat panel installed. We need to get kind of an adapter made for something on that. So that's not configured at the moment. We can go into flat panel. You can see right here, there's all different kinds of flat panels available. We use the flip flat from Optech, which if you're doing something remotely and you have a telescope small enough, usually under 6-inch, you want to be able to activate that. Now, having a flat panel in a remote spot or even just an observatory that you can control remotely is really nice. Now, usually how you would do that is it has its own software or whatever, but with Nina, you can configure that inside of here. So we have that all set up. Obviously, I don't have that connected at the moment because we're doing some maintenance on it, but it's all set up. You can see the Almatac flat panel is right there, and you would just go ahead and hit connect and da-da-da-da-da-da. You're done. Now, that was a lot of stuff. You can see how convoluted a system like this is built up. This takes time. And then we can do a weather station. You can do observatories. There's also plugins you can add here too. So let's go available plugins. It's all on the internet at this point, but there's all kinds of plugins that are very specialized. Like there's 10 micron tools, ASA, astrophysics. There's all kinds of crazy things inside of here. So you can really customize this to be exactly what you want. Like I said, Nina is more of a kind of a shell that you build within. I like to think of it as a funnel. This is what channels all of your programs into one umbrella, allowing you to do all this stuff. So something kind of neat there. But again, there's a lot going on in here. Now that we just configured the whole system. And if we want to turn that all off, you can say connect all devices. Once this is configured, you can see everything here. Let me turn this off. So when you have a whole system configured under a profile, let me just close all this. Let me turn it all off. Disconnect all devices. So you can see over here, all the little power buttons are gone. So once we've built this profile, all of this gets saved behind the scenes. You can name the profile. Let me see if I can remember where this all sits. Right over here under general. So you're going to go down to options, general, and you can name the profile and you can save all of this stuff. And the description and everything. So once we're all done, you're going to go ahead and be like, okay, I want to start my night of imaging. I want to just set everything up. You press the one connect button. Do you want to connect all devices? Yes. And then boom, everything should go. Up on the right, you'll see camera connected, filter wheel connected, EQ mod comes on, our focusers connected, guiders connected, weather data source. I didn't know we had one set up, but it's in there. The switch is connected. Everything pops up, and you can just go ahead and hit close. It all goes away. EQ mod can go down under here. You can see all of our stuff: camera, filter wheel, focuser, telescope, guider, switch. Everything is all built and ready to go inside of there. Now, this doesn't just work for SynScan. You can use it for astrophysics, BISC, whatever you're using. It's all customizable. Can you use this for live imaging? You probably could, but it's a pretty convoluted software for that, but you could check it out. I don't know if it does live stack or not, but I'll have to look more into that. Now we've just built the system. Now there is a couple things that you do have to download to allow it to do imaging. So here's where it starts to kind of bug me, especially because there's some turnkey stuff out there that makes this easier. Over here, you are going to need a couple different things. You need the Atlas image, the Sky Atlas image folder, and you need the Sky Survey cache folder. These need to be downloaded, and I believe those are on Nina's website. Downloads, right here. You need to download these two pieces, and they need to be put into a folder that you can find. Now, on our desktop, we have Nina database folder. We just made it clean and easy, and it's right up there. But you need to download the Sky Atlas image repository and the offline SkyMap cache. You can see this is about 3 gigs worth of stuff. Download these, put them in a folder, and when they're in the folder, you're going to go head back to Nina, go to options, general, and then you're going to go plug all this in. So you type that in. You can see right here, NINA database, and just assign them. So let's see, there's some questions. I don't know if NINA can actually control alt-az systems. I'm not sure. I wouldn't be surprised if it could, but with our DOBs, I don't know if it actually can. That'd be something we'd have to experiment with. For EAA or live stacking, there's a lot simpler things out there that you could do that. I don't know if NINA has that capability at the moment, but I wouldn't be surprised if it did have live stacking capabilities, but you can do that with a much simpler program. This is supposed to be a guide for Skywatcher mounts, but NINA can control all kinds of things. So I did mention how to connect NINA with EQ mod earlier, but like I said, there's half a dozen ways you can connect a Skywatcher mount to NINA, but EQ mod I find to be the simplest. But there's through the hand controller, there's the USB, there's Green Swamp server, EQ mod. There's a variety of combinations you can do it. I use NINA on my SynScan go-to DOB with the hand controller. Oh, very cool. Can you use NINA through Wi-Fi interface on your go-to? I don't know. I don't think NINA can control it wirelessly. You can use the Windows SynScan app, and with the ASCOM drivers, you can do that. I don't know if you can do it wirelessly, though. That's a good question, though. I've had everything hardwired. So in order to get NINA to play nicely, like I said, you do need to download the Sky Atlas image folder and the Sky Survey cache, and that is available under Downloads, Miscellaneous at the bottom, and make sure it's in a folder you can easily find and route that to. Now, another thing that you're going to need to pay attention to is that if you want it to plate solve, of course it's going to geek out on me right now. Hold on, let me see if I can get back in here. Wait, go away. I've got too many. Why did you bounce over here? Hold, please. Trying to get this to full screen. Oh, here we go. Full screen. Boop. There we go. Let me bring up NINA. Full screen. There we go. If you want to do plate solving, you're going to go... I'm sorry. We were actually there. You go equipment. I'm sorry. Options. Plate solving. This is where things get a little weird. So under plate solving, you have to decide what plate solver that you want to use. There's a few of them. There's astrometry.net, local plate solver, plate solve 2, 3, all sky plate solver, and ASTAP. I worked with Chris Hendren. Some of you may remember Chris Hendren from OPT. He is the head of Celestron tech support right now. Unbelievable imager, and he knows NINA in and out. Working with him, plate solver 2 is his weapon of choice. That's from PlaneWave, but you have to load it and configure it. Again, remember, this is an empty box. We have to put everything into it. So you need to first go to PlaneWave's website, and you have to download... Oh, no. Plate solve. You're going to go over to planewave.com, go down to software. You're going to scroll down until you see Plate Solve 2. You need to download all three of these: Plate Solve 2, APM Star Catalog Installer, and Star Catalog, and follow the instructions to do that. And this is, you can use any of the available plate solvers programs that are available to NINA in that drop-down menu. We just happen to use Plate Solve 2, but you have to configure it. So we've got everything downloaded. Come on. There we go. We have everything. You have to set the location right here. So, we've got it set up here. But with Plate Solve 2, you have to download it, open up PlateSolve 2. It's an actual program, platesolve2.exe. This is what it looks like. You have to go to File, Configure Catalog Directories, and this is where you have to configure it and tell it where these star catalogs are. So there's the APM catalog and there's the UAC3 catalog. Both of these need to be selected. You have to select the directory. Now this is why having a easy to find folder on your desktop or some document to route to is where you want to keep all of this. This is all usually built into that folder. But there's a couple different ways you can do it. But you need to configure it. Once it's configured, it hits OK. And this should all save. And then this can go away. And then you just have to go in and hit assign in the location. Then PlateSolve will work. At that point, you'll be able to go through and control everything that you want. Like, let's just say M31. This is what I do like about Nina. You see it in the ASI error and other programs as well. But it's going to show you, like, here's what it looks like. Here's the rise and set time. Ideal time for imaging. It shows you the dark time. You can do this with a ton of different targets. We'll just stick with the basic stuff right now. You can see right here, and you can kind of plan, and you can add targets to sequence. You can do a whole lot of things inside of Nina, which clearly we don't have enough time for. But I know we just have a few minutes left. Let me see if there's any questions. Let's see. By the way, people are getting great results on their SynScan Go-To Dobs with short exposures using Nina to control the scope. Using plate solving, it keeps the target centered in the camera for hours. That's really good to hear. If you actually look at professional observatories nowadays, I want you to see how few of them are using equatorial mounts. Many of them are using alt-az mounts. And I've seen a lot of comments, especially since Origin was launched from Celestron this week about, why would you ever use an alt-az mount for imaging? It's f2. You don't need an equatorial mount. Obviously, to shoot longer exposures, you probably want an equatorial mount, but you don't need an equatorial anymore, especially with like Lucky Imaging. You have the ability to shoot very fast with very high sensitivity cameras and get really good results. I have seen people using our SynScan Go-To Dobs for imaging, and you could probably even use it with the Starizona Apex. No, the Apex is for the Nexus. The Starizona Nexus reducer coma corrector you could install into one of our Dobs and speed them up even further for live imaging or deep sky imaging with a fast optical system on a Dobsonian. I wouldn't be surprised if more and more telescopes in the future take advantage of high-speed optics and really sensitive cameras to do imaging without the need of an equatorial mount. Everyone talks about how harmonic mounts and strain wave mounts are nice because they're lightweight. They are lightweight. But I wouldn't be surprised if people move away from equatorials altogether in the next 10 to 20 years, just because cameras are so sensitive and optics can be made very quick in a Newtonian configuration, fairly affordable. I mean, you can get a 20-inch f3 Dobsonian if you really wanted to, or even faster, and you can take some pretty effective stuff with that. And it's corrected with a coma corrector, and it's f3. So try doing that with a refractor. So anyway, I wouldn't be surprised if there's some interesting tech in the future moving away from equatorial mounts. But anyway, Nina is a great program if you want to channel everything through one kind of umbrella software. For many years, there were so many of us that just had tons of stuff on our desktop. You have, MaximDL running a camera, PhD2's guiding, maybe you have the mount running on another software. There's all kinds of stuff, and you just have all these windows all over the place. It gets really messy. Nina gives you that ability to bring it all under one window and allows everything to run in the background. And you still have the ability, and we didn't even get into the fact that you can do sequencing. You can set up a whole sequence Now, we kind of did this. Is it under target set? Yeah, so we built this yesterday with Chris. You can go in, you can build a sequence, you can load the template, which I thought it was in there. Apparently it's not in there anymore, but you can do a new target. There we go. We set it up yesterday, and you can build the whole thing. So you can do whatever you want. So we have 300-second exposures. It's a light. We have luminance. You can do binning right here. Dither. We can set the gain, the offset. It's all there. And then you can save this as a template down here. You just save sequence to new XML file. And we'll just save it there. And then you can just reload that file and edit it from there. And you can pick targets. You can do mosaics. It's a very impressive program is what Nina actually is. Highly impressive program. But it takes a lot of time for you to kind of configure it to the way that you want. And if you're an imager, and particularly if you're doing a remote observatory and you've got a lot going on, it's definitely worth... Sorry, my camera is mutinying against me, apparently. So, oh, wait, here it is. Got too many buttons. Well, I'm going to have to mess with it. The camera doesn't want to listen to me now, so... All right. Well, I don't know what's going on with my main camera. Sorry about that, guys. You just won't have to see my face at the end of all of this. I'll have to look into what's going on with that. But anyway, if you like what you see here, please go ahead and subscribe. Leave a like on the video. I know this was a lot of information, and we barely scratched the surface with a lot of what's going on with Nina. So, and that's just the program right now. Patriot Astro. If you guys need some help on YouTube, Patriot Astro apparently has really good YouTube videos, which is excellent because it's got a lot of good stuff on there. Just like if you're doing PixInsight and all this other stuff, it is definitely nice to have all of that available to us. It's honestly never been better time to be in astrophotography. Things are getting so much better, so much easier, that it's becoming amazing to be doing astrophotography right now. And sorry to keep bringing up Origin from Celestron, but I've seen a lot of people complain about Origin in the last week, that it's not what they wanted and it's too expensive and blah, 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 blah. You have a telescope that can just do everything that we just talked about. Everything that we just talked about can be done in systems like Origin. It can be done in a system like an ASI Air or the StellarMate Pro. There's these turnkey systems that are coming out that are making imaging easier than it's ever been. And it should just be amazing to be an astrophotographer at this day and age. And I'm hoping things are only going to get better moving forward. So it's going to be a really awesome time to be into astrophotography, especially over the next decade. So anyway, thanks for hanging out with us today. Sorry my camera's not working. I'm going to have to figure out why it's mutinying against me. But thanks for hanging out with us today. I know that was a ton of information. We barely scratched the surface. But that is basically how you control Nina to SynScan. I would recommend going through EQ mod, but you can experiment with other connections as well. But thanks for hanging out with us. Next week, we're going to be talking about selecting a refractor for imaging, and that should be a good one too. So we'll be taking a look at a lot of the different offerings that are on the market nowadays and what to look for and what to look out for. So thank you all very much for hanging out. We'll see you guys next week. Have a great weekend and clear skies, and stay warm out there. Take care. See ya. Bye.